Hello, you're welcome to the final section of today's class. We're going to be looking at a very beautiful topic. We're going to be looking at HTML5 Geolocation APIs. Let's get right into the class. I still remember your favorite instructor, Okolo Chukwudumebe Prince, the senior ICT instructor. Let's get straight into the class, okay? Yeah, okay. Now the HTML5 Geolocation API, okay, like we said here, the HTML5 geolocation API is used to locate a user's position. But because this can compromise privacy, the position is not available unless the user approves it. So this API is only accessible by the user's permission. Okay. Yeah. Whenever you request for user's location, the browser is going to pop up and ask the user to accept what you're saying, to accept the permission. And if the user approves, you can access their location, and it captures the latitude and longitude of the user, which you can easily pass to Google Map and plot on a live map. It pairs perfectly with the Google Maps API to plot coordinates dynamically on a live map interface. This is very useful when you may want to pinpoint a location to users. You may want to personalize the user's experience based on their location, especially when you are offering a service that goes around the World Wide Web. Yeah, that is when the HTML5 geolocation API becomes important. Then we have the drag and drop operation. In HTML5, drag and drop is a native standard. Any element can be draggable by setting the draggable equal to true. Attributes are equal to true attributes are manipulated using JavaScript, using event listers like onDragStart, onDragOver, and onDrop. So the drag and drop operations in HTML5, you can manipulate with drag and drop operations in HTML5 are native. You just need to, even if it's an image, it's a heading, whatever it is, an image, a heading, a paragraph, whatever it is at all, a div that you want to make draggable, you just need to add this particular attribute, draggable equal to true, as an attribute, and automatically it will be draggable. A user can easily drag that particular element from one location to another. So you must, and you can manipulate it by using the event listeners like onDragStart, onDragOver. We have already discussed about JavaScript events, JavaScript and jQuery events in the last class. We're able to look at events like on mouse click. We're looking at events on mouse over. Even in the last class, we looked at some other events also, and this is exactly, but here we have other events that we look at it on onDragStart, onDragOver, and onDrop. This is onDragStart is for when a user starts dragging a particular element. When they drag it over another element, that is onDragOver, and then drop is when the user finally releases what they are dragging at a particular point. Note the HTML5 application cache. Now we have application cache. Every time you hear cache is talking about a place where an offline storage whereby certain bits of data and information is stored and can easily be retrieved again. So we say the HTML5 application cache mechanism. The HTML5 application cache mechanism allows developer to specify which files the browser should cache and make available to offline user. However, it is now deprecated and has been widely replaced by service workers. So application cache has actually been removed. It was a new feature that was introduced. Yeah. Application cache is a new feature that was actually introduced. And so application cache is a new feature that was actually introduced in HTML5, but with the help of service workers, that's progressive web apps, which we're going to be looking at in future, I think in the next module of this particular course. With the help of progressive web apps, we no longer make use of application cache. We use service workers to make an application available offline, certain parts of an application available offline. Just to quickly rush through this, let's quickly you are building an interface for a dispatch rider. We'll get the user's current GPS location and display a drag and drop interface, allowing the dispatcher to move a package into a delivery truck. Okay, so let's quickly do this, and we open our folder, and I'm going to call this one geolocation. Okay, that's the name I'll give it. I'll call it geolocation. That's what I'll call this. Or let's call it GIS, Geolocation, Geographical Information System, just to make the name shorter. I'll call it GIS. Okay. And inside GIS, I'm going to, of course, create my usual folders. my CSS folder, CSS. I'll also create my JS folder, JS. I'll also create my IMGs folder, IMGs. Okay, so when you have created all of these folders successfully, when you have created each and every one of these folders successfully as you have to, of course, we go through our normal process. We have to close what we have done before so we can focus on the new one. And I said you should create index.html, style.css inside CSS, and geo.js. So let's quickly do that. First is index.html file, save as, go here, go to our GIS. Where is GIS? GIS, perfect. And we'll save index.html because this is the first file where our HTML index, call it index, and then come over here and say hypertext markup language. Okay, and then we're going to create the new one, style.css file, save as. You open your CSS file, we'll call this one style.css. okay, it's style.css, and then we now go further and create another new file, and we're going to call it geo.js, geo.js, and we're going to store it in our JavaScript folder, calling it gis.geo.js, that's geo.js. So that's for this. Okay, now if we have done that, we now move further and we go further and get into this like this. Now, first view solution code. Of course, I told you we always attach our manual to each and every one of our videos. So I'll copy this for the index.html page. Okay, Ctrl S. For my style.css also, copy it, also copy. And then our geo.js, where the actual logic, the code is not even much because the geolocation API is not a very, difficult API at all to make use of. Okay, so I can just go to localhost/gis now. Let me go over here to localhost/gis, localhost/gis. Okay, perfect. So, of course, you see, this is it. Now, you see, one of the things about the geolocation API is that you must tie it to an event for it to execute. Like if I click here, get my coordinates, we're going to just wait. It's unless yes, perfect. Okay, this is because I've already allowed the Google Chrome browser to access my location already on this particular system. So if it was another system, it would not be the same. It would ask, a pop-up is going to come out and say that should location access be allowed to this particular site. Okay, so that is how it works here. Okay, yeah, so that is exactly how it works here. So let's move forward, let's progress. Okay, now let's look at this code. What are we truly doing here? First of all, we have our HTML document, and it's quite important that we look at how it is here. Of course, I told you always try to add this, even if it is not there, always add this tag to your head section because it helps to make your website respond. I know that we're not going, this is not a live website that we're using online, but the truth of the matter is that if you keep doing this over and over again, you get used to it. And it's the very same thing that we have done here. The only thing is that you see, we can move. Let's refresh our page here. and we can see, can we drag? Okay. Okay, you can see how we drag. You can see I can drag something to here. I can drag it back here. Okay, you can't drag this one because we didn't set the draggable attribute equal to true. So when you come to our JavaScript over here, we have cost btn equal to document.get element by id, get location, cost output equal to document.get element by id, geo output, and then we then have btn.add event. We are using this because of the fact that probably there is just a single, because we are using this btn because of the fact that we have already allocated the id of that particular button to this variable called btn, and then we say btn.add event listener. Okay, you have to add event listener, and in the bracket we have the click event, comma, which is the major event. We have two events, major event that we use on buttons. We have the click event and the hover event, but then in this case we're using the click event. And when I say if navigator.geolocation output.inner html locating, and then when I say navigator.geolocation get current position, these are just the two methods: get current position, show position, comma, show error. It will show an error if the user did not permit that it can be shown. Are you getting me? If the user does not permit that their location should be visible to you, an error will occur. So we now have it here. So we now say function show position. You see the show position function. This show position is you that created it here. So function show position, okay, you pass the position as an argument, and we say output. We now say output.inner when the latitude plus position dot coordinate coords dot latitude plus, you use the plus. Now I never told us before, but the plus, this plus is used for adding in JavaScript and also for joining strings together. It's also the concatenation operator used in JavaScript. That is how it works. Okay, and then plus b arrow longitude equal to plus position dot coords dot longitude. Then we'll say function show over, show error, output.inner html is equal to an error occurred fetching location. So you use this. So if the user did not permit that you can access their location, an error will occur. And if the user permits and that for some reason the location could not be accessed, it's going to tell you an error occurred fetching the location. And then we have the drag and drop API. You can see how it works here. Function allow drop ev dot prevent. You can also say e. You can also use e here instead of ev. You can use j, you can use I, but we use ev because we're trying to demonstrate an event. Ev dot prevent default. We have to prevent the default behavior. Ev dot prevent default is used to prevent the default behavior of an HTML element. Dot prevent default, and we say function drag ev, and we say ev dot data transfer dot set data. Okay, text, comma, ev dot target dot id. Then in this is the dragging aspect when you are dragging, and then this is the dropping aspect. So when function drop ev dot prevent default, again you have to prevent the default behavior that takes place, and say var data equal to ev dot data transfer dot get data text, and ev dot target dot append child document dot get element by id data. So basically what we are dragging here is a text. Okay, that's why we are working with text. We're working with text here. What we are dragging is a text. So you can use this actually what this drag and drop API is for. That's why you see it on so many websites. This is how it is achieved. But basically, like I'll tell you, sometimes you don't really need to bother yourself with certain things that may not be needed. On mobile devices, drag and drop operations are not so amazing on mobile devices. On system, quite all right, where drag and drop operations can work perfectly well, but on mobile devices you don't really need drag and drop operations that much. That's just the thing. And so that is how we complete this particular thing. So this way you can capture the location. Of course, don't worry, keep following our channel. We're going to see someday in one of our videos, we're going to look at how we can take these coordinates to be a complete tutorial on how we can take these coordinates that was fetched for us by the HTML5 Geolocation API and plot it on Google Map and be able to fetch the current location of the user, and how we can, the various things that Google will fetch for us via their API, and how we can use each of those various objects to do different things. I want to encourage you, don't leave this channel, keep following us, and as you follow us, I know you're not going to regret it. We are expanding this course, to add more and more features. We're still focused on front end for now. By the time we exhaust the front end, we'll go to the back end of web development. We're going to be dealing with a lot of things, even Java. We're going to have classes on Java. Yeah, we're going to have classes on Java. We're going to have classes on various classes on Java, C++. We're going to be having a lot of classes, and it's all to give you ICT skills that will help you to, build better and become better than you are already. That is exactly what we are going to be doing all through in this channel. So I want to tell you, stick with us, and let me tell you, it's not yet over. Join us next week for another episode of this our series on front-end development for websites. But also, don't miss our bonus tutorial for today. We have something specially packaged and packed for you today. Don't miss it. Ensure you watch it. I remain your favorite instructor, Okolo Chukwumebi Prince, the senior ICT instructor. Have a lovely day. Thank you and bye.